Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Lindsey series. This is the biggest district in Lincolnshire, containing 188 civil parishes. Without further ado, here's today's offering. Welcome everybody to another Lindsey video here in Lincolnshire. However, we're not in West Lindsey. For the first time, we are in East Lindsey. And I'm standing on a watercourse that you may well recognise if you've been watching my North East Lincolnshire series. That right there is Waithe Beck. And this is the parish of the same name. Welcome to Wath. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to East Lindsey. It's time to start what is the biggest district in Lincolnshire, one which has an absolute megaton of interesting places. This one's one of the smallest, but you will all know it by now thanks to the number of times we've seen Waithe Beck in various places. Yes, this is Waithe, the tiny village which gives its name to that stretch of water which crosses the Lincolnshire Wolds and eventually ends up at Tetney Lock. Waithe sits just to the south of the larger villages of Holton and New Waltham, close to the district's border with North East Lincolnshire. Waithe's name is a corrupted version of the word Wath, and it simply means ford. It was recorded in the Domesday book as Wade. The local landowners here were the Haigh family, whose family vault is located under the now redundant church of St Martin, one of the few landmarks in the village. That's a village which has less than 20 houses, most of which are laid out along one single street between Waithe Beck and the A16, the main road between Boston and Grimsby. It was once much bigger because, much like West Lindsey, East Lindsey is full of deserted medieval villages, and Waithe is no exception. Its siting is indicated by earthworks, trackways and ditch enclosures, as well as some finds of pottery dating from between the 13th and 18th centuries. So here's your first taste of Lindsey's eastern half. Let's go. We begin at the ever-familiar, if you've been following me for a while that is, Waithe Beck, which forms Waithe's parish boundary to the east. That means Waithe Watermill, which you can see on the left here, isn't actually within Waithe's boundaries. It belongs to Holton le Clay. The mill is quite historic though. Grade 2 listed, it dates from 1813 and used the power of Waithe Beck to grind corn. This bridge allows access to the mill from the main village. Let's take a drive into that main village. The mill is located on a dead-end track known as Church Lane. You'll no doubt notice the extremely rural nature of this road, with its central line of grass. It reminded me a lot of the type of road you find in certain parts of the west of Ireland. The main cluster of property in Waithe is located along this one road. There are 9 cottages, one of which is standalone, the others are in 4 semi-detached blocks, all of the same estate-like style. Okay, so you can't get a simpler walk than this. Effectively, all I'm doing in this one is walking from the A16, which is where I am now. It's the main road between Grimsby and Boston, by the way, this. And this will be seen in quite a few East Lindsey episodes going forward. So basically I'm just going to walk from the A16 back through the village to that bend that you saw in the intro, and that's it. That's as big as Waithe is. It isn't really any bigger than that, and there isn't any need to go any further than that. Now, Waithe Parish does cover some ground on the other side of the A16, and I'll show you that now just before I start walking. You can see a farm over there. That's in the boundaries. A few other houses and farm buildings on this side of this road, they're also within the boundaries, but it's not worth going to them. The main sort of cluster of buildings is all along this one road, this dead-end road towards Waithe Beck. So let's go, let's see what it's got. Waithe might be tiny, but it does have a bus service. On the A16 you can catch the number 51, which will get you to Grimsby or to Wath. Waithe is too small to sustain a post office or a shop, but it does have a post box, and this one's notable too because it's Victorian. The biggest feature in the village is its church. A Grade 1 listed building and dedicated to St Martin, this is a redundant church restored in 1861 by James Fowler of Wath for the Haigh family, leaving only the early English nave arcades and tower as elements of an earlier Saxon cruciform church. The churchyard features include the base and shaft of a cross dating from the 14th century, which was also restored in 1861. The church was last repaired in 2005 at a cost of £350,000. Although not in use for worship, St Martin's does still open for visitors. It's under the care of the church's Conservation Trust. Okay, so the church here in Waithe is not open. I didn't expect it to be, because you find churches like this which are out in the middle of nowhere. They're open occasionally, but sometimes, more often than not, you find them closed. And I have done here. So let's continue walking through the village. There's not much more to see, to be honest with you. Just a few more houses and maybe something else, I don't know. We'll see what else is there, and then we'll turn around and head back to the car. All that's left to do now is walk up Church Lane back towards Waithe Beck, and this will practically take us past every house in the village, barring the outlying ones on the other side of the A16, of course. You'll notice they all look the same. Waithe was an estate village connected to nearby Grimsby. In the 19th century it was all owned by the Haigh family. There's some more on them coming in next week's episode. Several members of the family are buried in a vault or mausoleum under the chancel at St Martin's Church. The chancel walls, awash with colour, also incorporate lozenge-shaped memorials to members of the Haigh family. The rest of the local area is dominated by farmland, with the odd clump of trees here and there. In 1885, Kelly's Directory of Lincolnshire stated agricultural production in the parish was chiefly wheat, oats, turnips and barley, farmed under a 4-field system. With 780 acres to play with, I'd say that was ideal. There you go, that's been the parish of Waithe. I've walked it and I've driven it, I've covered it, it all ends up. It's amazing, a very small place like this. I feel like I've been to every house. I probably haven't, but you know, that's just how it goes. Some are small and some are big. Time to move on to my next one here in East Lindsey, and I hope this